But anyway, I would like to start by saying thank you. Thank you for not only caring about conservation, but by practicing it day in and day out. Each one of us in this room share a common goal. In short, we know we must take care of our natural resources to ensure the health of our lands for generations to come. Through the services we provide to our customers to help them make improvements to the land, water, and air, we are creating a future for generations that follow. As we recognize the exceptional leaders from across the country, it is important to note the positive impact that each of our 3,000 conservation districts make in their communities, proving that sound conservation practices work. The individual actions of each of our 17,000 conservation district supervisors and the 11,000 conservation district employees are making a difference every single day. Combine that with the collaborative work that we do with our conservation partners, and the impact is tremendous. Through the improvements to the land that we are making and the services we provide to our customers, we are creating a future for the next generation of conservation leaders. And that is why at this time it is my pleasure to introduce our luncheon speaker, Chad Pregracke. Chad is an internationally named 2013 CNN Hero of the Year and founder and president of Living Lands and Waters, a nonprofit river cleanup organization, author, and professional public speaker. He is a living example of how one person can make a difference. Best known for starting out as a young man in East Moline, Illinois, wanting a clean waterway, Chad has become a champion for the Mississippi River. Growing up on its banks, he worked as a commercial shell diver during his early years, experiencing the river from the bottom up. Sometimes he spent 10 hours in a day in the depth and current of the pitch black waters and crawled nearly 150 miles on the river bottom over 6 years. Chad saw its beauty and was frustrated by the neglect. At the age of 17, he decided to clean it up. 22 years later, Chad and his Living Lands and Waters crew have organized and led over 1,000 community cleanups on 23 rivers in 20 states and have removed over 10 million pounds of garbage. Chad had an idea that evolved into a movement that has helped restore one of America's greatest icons, the Mississippi River. Today, he'll be telling us his own personal story about conservation leadership and the powerful impact one individual can make. Please help me give a warm NACD welcome to Chad Pregracke.
How we doing? We doing good? You know, I just want to say I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I know it takes a lot of work to put on a conference of this size, and we got a great team of people that put it on, and it takes a lot of work. So let's give it up for all the people who put this conference on, folks. And let's just clap for no reason at all. It's fun to clap. I like clapping. Let's clap it out. Let's clap it out. I really, really appreciate the opportunity and to be here in Nashville. I love Nashville. I've spent a lot of time in Tennessee on my river cleanups over the last, I've been coming down here for the last 13 years. And it's really cool. I'm from where Mike Wolf from American Pickers is from. So last night I called him, I'm like, dude, I'm in Nashville. And he's like, well, come on over. So went over to his house, drank some beers, and hung out with the family. Haven't seen him. That's a cool show, and it was such an honor to see all the stuff he's doing. And but I got to tell you, this morning I called my wife, and I'm like, I'm nervous. I mean, it's a big crowd, and I want to do a good job. And my wife told me, she's like, Chad, there is no group out there that you could possibly talk to that is more aligned with your mission of cleaning up America's rivers than this group here. And yeah. And I'm like, you're right. And then I got off the phone and I was still nervous. So anyway, I'm nervous. But no, I just want to do a good job and really appreciate it. Been asked back. I actually, last time I talked to the National Convention was in New Orleans. How appropriate with cleaning up the Mississippi River. And to come back is truly an honor. And so I want to start out by telling you about the Mississippi River. It's where my passion lies. It's where I spend all my time. Tell you some facts about it. And the reason I'm going to tell you some facts about it is because I did win that 2013 CNN Hero of the Year award, which was wonderful, great honor. But then my mom's like, that's wonderful, Chad, but now you need to step up your game. So I added some facts into my presentation. So here we go. True story. But the Mississippi River. It's an amazing place. It's over 2,300 miles in length. It drains 1.2 million square miles, which encompasses 31 states and 2 Canadian provinces. For me, it's a 2,300-mile corridor for wildlife, right? 320 different species of birds call it home, 260 different species of fish, 185 different kinds of reptiles, 80 different kinds of mussel shells. So below the surface, above the surface, it truly is a 2,300-mile corridor for wildlife. And then not only is it a super flyway for all the birds, but it's also a super highway for transportation of goods. 62% of all the agricultural goods that were shipped for export out of the U.S. went through the Port of New Orleans last year alone. There's over 11,000 ships that came through the Port of New Orleans. And I always say to people, no matter where you're from, where you live, if you live in this country, you might not be connected geographically to the river, but economically, you definitely are if you live here. So it's a wonderful place, so many ways. You know, here's a little fact for you, too. I actually brought some video. It's pretty cool. Just added this to my presentation. But there were more babies conceived in or along the Mississippi River than any other river in the world. So here we go. Folks, just want to spice it up, catch your attention. I didn't bring that. My mom said, no way. Anyway, no, but it is truly where my passion lies. And want to tell you about how I got into cleaning up America's rivers. The thing is, I grew up basically from here to that wall away from the river's edge. I lived out in the country as like a country river kid, and all my life spent my time on the banks of the river. And when I was 15 years old, I got into commercial shell diving with my brother. And commercial shell diving is essentially diving for mussel shells, spending 8 to 10 hours a day on the bottom, pitch black, on the bottom of the river, and spend 8 to 10 hours a day down there, and you're picking up mussel shells, you're crawling upstream, and I was selling the mussel shells for the culture pearl industry, and that's how I was saving money to go to college, and once I was in college, to stay in college, okay? Now, I just got to say, it's pretty dangerous work. It was against my parents' wishes, but, the river's right there, and I'd see these guys out there doing it, so decided to do it with my brother, and I almost drowned quite a few times, so I really am happy to be here, so thank you, Jeremy. It was a great experience, though, in a lot of ways. So here's the deal. The first thing is what I liked about shell diving on the bottom is the more you put into it, the more you got out of it, so it taught me a strong work ethic, right? And then when you're down there, right, it's pitch black water. You don't know if it's going to be 8 foot deep or 28 foot deep. We weren't using depth finders at the time. So you just go out there and you'd fire up this little Honda compressor to pump air through a garden hose down to you, okay? You'd had anywhere from 80 to 100 pounds of lead around your waist, right? You had a basket around your neck and you had a mask on. But after 3 foot, it's so turbid you couldn't see anything, right? So you jump in there, you climb down this hose, and you're gaining momentum. It's the most dangerous part of the day. You're gaining momentum because that boat's picking up speed, and then you are the anchor for the boat. So once you hit the bottom, you've got to dig in because that boat's ripping you downstream, and you're getting ripped over logs and sand and rocks and gravel and everything, and you slow the boat down, slow it down, and then you settle in, and then for the next 2 to 3 hours at a time per dive, you're just crawling upstream, keeping your face right down in the mud, grabbing those mussel shells till you fill that basket with about 100 pounds of shells around your neck. And then once that's full, you take that off and you send it to the top, put another basket on, you keep crawling upstream, right? Did that for 6 summer seasons with my brother. And over that 6 summer seasons, I can't say I crawled every inch of it, but I crawled about a 150-mile stretch of the river, and I got to know the river from the bottom up, okay? And I really did. And what was cool about it is the other experience I really liked about being down there was I never thought about it till later after I was done, but it was a totally different world down there. When you're down in pitch black, you can't see anything. It's like being in a cave, but you can hear really well. And what you can hear down in the bottom is tens of thousands of fish communicating. Like catfish sound like bullfrogs, like whoa, 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 but thousands of them, especially when they're spawning around June. And drum, make click, 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 click sound. So all these different fish are communicating, and I really did get a different experience of the river. And I became to know the river like this thing is alive. It truly is. And so I did that, and then I did that for 6 summer seasons. Then I made a great decision to drop out of college and be a commercial fisherman on the river. My parents were super pumped. They were like, that is amazing. Yes, not really. No, and they weren't. They're both teachers, so stressed education and not pumped on that. But I only lasted 4 days doing that, went back to college, and then I worked on towboats and barges running sand up and down the river. And in all those experiences, I started to see a different side of the Mississippi River, one that most people didn't see or didn't know what to do about, but I didn't like what I saw. And so I'll just show you, that's a back channel of the Mississippi River. That's about 10 foot of water, 9 or 10 foot of water under there. It is so choked with garbage. When you pull your boat up to it, my dogs will jump out thinking it's land, it's solid, and fall through the garbage. You got to pull them out. There's another spot right there, So that spot in particular, like you can look at some spots on the Mississippi River, and that spot, when I was first looking at it, I thought it had just snowed, but it wasn't snow. It was garbage, and it went on like that for miles. And I couldn't believe it. And there's another spot too. Now here's another important fact that I think really kind of sealed the deal for me. As I start looking into this, like how come it's not being kept clean and why? One fact is there's 18 million people get their daily drinking water directly out of the Mississippi River. So all the towns and cities, large or small, they pull their drinking water right out of the river. And I'm looking at this. I'm only 17 years old. I'm not into, picking up garbage yet or anything like that. But I'm thinking how bad this is. It's very simple. It's a problem. I can do something about it. And I started asking around, and nobody in my area was doing much about it. And so I said, well, if nobody's going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to clean this up. It's the Mississippi River. It's like my backyard. It's a symbol of the nation. This is not right. So I first tried calling the state of Illinois. And I called and called and called. I called every acronym there was, okay? I called the DNR, the DOT. I called the governor's office so many times over 4 years, okay? He never called me back or anything like that, but that's okay. He's in jail now, so maybe it's a good thing that, yeah. We actually, in Illinois, we have two. I don't know if they're cellmates, but they're in there. Way to go. But so they never called me back. And but I was listening to why these people were saying no. And they'd say, who are you, kid? What garbage are you talking about? And no, we don't have any money for such a project. Okay? And I got to thinking, you know what? These people are in Springfield, Illinois, at the state capitol. I'm out here on these islands, camped out, commercial shell diving. I'm living in this stuff. I'm seeing it firsthand. All I need to really do is show them how bad it is. So over the 4 summer seasons of commercial shell diving, I started taking pictures of everything that I saw, the barrel pile, sites like that, you name it. And I put about 70 pictures together with my intention of going back to the state and showing them. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. And it's the craziest thing how this whole river cleanup operation and organization was started. And it was started from one thing, a NASCAR race, okay? Because I'm just getting ready to go back to state. I'd drawn up a big poster and all this, made a map and where I'm going to go and what I'm trying to do. And I'm walking through the living room, and my college roommates are crushing beers and just finished a NASCAR race. And I'm walking through, and I'm thinking a lot about this and how can I get it going. and I look and I see that a guy just wins a NASCAR race. And how many people have seen a NASCAR race, the end of one? Okay, here's the deal. You've seen it. If you haven't, here's what happens. Person wins. They do a bunch of burnouts. They go up to victory lane. They get out. They put a sponsor hat on instantly. They've got all these sponsor patches on their race suits, and they're talking about, how the sponsors help them win and everything. And I'm stopped. I look at the TV. I'm thinking, I could wear patches. I'll get a sponsor, okay? If a company will sponsor a race car, they'll sponsor river cleanup. Be good for the river, good for the community. It's a positive thing for the country. That's what I'll do, okay? So in my town, the three main employers are John Deere. What? Boom. Throwing it, repping. Bam. Moline, Illinois. Just did that. Just want to throw a shout out. Big sponsors. Had to. Anyway, no, but this is a very appropriate crowd to throw a shout out for John Deere, isn't it? Let's give it up for John Deere. Why wouldn't we? Yeah. No, they're awesome. Anyway, so they're main employers, and then it's we have Alcoa is there, and they made Case tractors as well at the time, and so I'm thinking, okay, well, Alcoa starts with an A. Boom, I'll start there. I looked up at the phone book. It's a massive plant. Thousands of people work there. I just picked one of the 50 different departments in the phone book, called them up, got some random lady on the phone, said, hey, my name's Chad Pregracke. I want to clean a 435-mile stretch of the Mississippi River. I was wondering who runs the show, who's in charge there, him or her, whoever it is. I want to talk to him or her. Yeah, the lady on the phone is not feeling it, okay? She's not going to put me through to the top person. She's scared. She's nervous. She doesn't understand. And I'm like, I beg her. After 10 minutes, she's like, fine, I'll put you through to Mr. Wilkinson. Great. And just before she puts me through, she's like, but don't tell him who put you through. One of those deals. Didn't matter. I didn't. Anyway, so he answered the phone. His assistant's not there that day. He answers the phone. He's like, Wilkinson. I'm like, Tim, hey, buddy, how you doing? I live 5 miles from you. I want to come over and show you all these pictures of garbage. I'm trying to clean it up. I got this big thing I want to do and clean it up. And he's not feeling it either, okay? He's like, instantly he's like, well, we're putting an expansion on. I don't have time for, how'd you get my number, all this. And anyway, he's like, do you have a budget? I'm like, I don't have a budget, but my mom works at a college. She hates budgets, but I can get a budget, whatever. And he's like, well, are you 501c3 tax deductible, not-for-profit organization? Sir, I have no idea what that is, but I can be that, man. Whatever it is, listen, I can get that. I need 10 minutes of your time. He's like, and I'm like, true story, I'm like, listen, man, if you don't see me, I'm going to stalk you and wait by your car. I'm coming over there. I'll be there in 5 minutes. And he's like, no, and he's annoyed, but he's like, fine. I don't ever do this. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm going to give you 10 minutes on Thursday. And then when I say 10 minutes, I mean 10 minutes. I'm like, no problem. So, folks, this is my first meeting. I've got these pictures. I had long hair, okay. I tucked it up in a hat, super pumped up. First got a collared shirt, went into the meeting, go into his office. The first thing he has me do is sit down and watch a 7-minute safety video. So I'm thinking, I only got 3 minutes, okay? So anyway, but that's all I needed, because the pictures said more than I could ever say. And I started showing him all this different stuff. This is over here, that's over there, that's my dog, that's my boat, flipping through, He's like, this is unbelievable. I said, it's not unbelievable. It's out there. It's just unacceptable. This is the Mississippi River, and this is what we've done to it, and I want to do something about it. Thank you. And so it's pretty simple, and he's like, I actually see a lot of merit in this. This is just disgusting, and here's the deal. I set out with big intentions. I want to clean a 435-mile stretch of the Mississippi River. I want both sides of the river. If you included all the shoreline of the islands, it'd be over 1,000 miles of shoreline. I wanted a crew of 6 people, and I wanted 2 work boats. I had half the equipment I needed already, from shell diving, but I just need another boat made. And so I set out to do the largest cleanup that's ever been done. And so I'm talking to Mr. Wilkinson in his office. He's like, well, how much does it cost? You brought the budget. I'm like, well, let me tell you, the budget really added up, okay? And I slid it over to him, and it did. And, gas, oil, insurance costs, but disposal costs, biggest thing. And so I'm like, well, here it is. And he sits back in his chair, and there was zero money in it for me, by the way, just zero Zippo. But wanted to make it happen. Disposal costs, $77,000. He's like, wow, I can't do 77, but how about 10? I'm like, 10? He's like, yeah, 10,000. I'm like, 10 G's, 10 minutes, you got a deal. You know, I'm super pumped. He's like, sit down. He sit down. As I sit down, he's like, one condition, you go back out and raise the rest of the money you need. No problem, be back on Monday. I mean, I thought it was easy, but no. For the next 6 weeks, I called everybody there was to call. I was calling Nike in Seattle. I called everybody there was to call. You know, same thing, who are you kidding? I don't blame any company or any agency at all, because I'm 22 years old at the time. I'd never proven myself, never done the largest cleanup in the history of the Mississippi River, anything like that. All I knew is this was a problem, I wanted to do something. I crawled back into Mr. Wilkinson's office after 6 weeks, said, nobody even talked to me, man. What's your advice? He said, I'll tell you what. Why don't you just start by going out and just start cleaning up, just by yourself with a boat you already have, and just start working in the hometown, whatever you think you can do between now and the rest of the year. And I'm like, and write me a budget for it, and I'll help you out. Great. I went home. My mom helped me out with an $8,400 budget. Went back in. He's like, you're not 501c3, but let's just get you started, okay? So just open a bank account, a credit union or bank or whatever, and just let's get going. I started the next day, okay? Finally. It was like 5 years of rejection. I'm finally out there. It's a great day. When I say great day, it's like serendipitous day, because the day I started cleaning the river, there could have been no better day. And here's why. Because the day I started cleaning the river was the day my parents went out of town for 2 weeks, okay? We live right on the river. We have our own boat launch. They have a yard. I need a staging area for all the barrels, diesel drums, bathtubs, toilets, you name it, everything. When they got home 2 weeks later, they were pissed, okay? They were. No, it was a massive pile, as big as the house. They pulled down, they're mad. But here's what happened. People just like yourselves started seeing me out there, and they're like, what are you doing? Told them what it was and what I was trying to do, and they're like, well, that's great. And they called the media. And the media called my parents' answering machine. Well, I wasn't checking it, so it was full of reporters wanting to do a story. Okay, so my parents are mad about this. They go inside. They're like, well, we're still mad about this, but you've got to call these people back. And I'm like, I don't want anything to do with it. No, I'm not calling them back. And it was my parents who could convince me I could show people like what I'm trying to do. And, it'll help the mission, help the cause is what they said. So for the first time in 22 years, I'm going to listen to my parents. And I call the media back. I did a story. It was sensationalized, cheesy, just like I thought. It was awful, okay? And it had me front page Sunday, okay? Love affair with the river. The entire page had me driving the boat with no shirt on. Just, oh, no. My friends are calling me, nice pecs, pal. What are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but that day the water dropped out and I had the spot scouted out and I had to carry this lady on my back through the mud, the reporter lady. I thought, oh, this is not going to be good. And sure enough, it wasn't. But anyway, but here's what happened. They sent that article out in the AP, and the next day, CNN is calling. They're flying in from Atlanta. Fox News is coming in from Chicago. Peter Jennings, when Anderson Cooper worked for Peter Jennings out of ABC Worldwide News in New York City, he's flying in. They got another crew coming from Denver, and I'm kind of like, okay, I'll pick you up at the airport. We'll go out and pick some garbage up. I didn't think it was late breaking news, but that's what I did. And so it really helped get this thing going. And I forgot I had a PowerPoint because I got really excited, so I got to rip through some pictures real quick, okay? Here we go. There's another one. Boom, Deport on the map. What? Bam. Yep, that's me as a kid. That's what the bottom of the river looks like right there, folks. That's my biggest. That's my first boatload. Pretty pumped on that, and a lot of oh, what? Whoa, wow. I thought I got shot for a minute, but I didn't. Sounded like it. But anyway, no, but that was my first boatload, super pumped. And so I worked that year, kind of gained some credibility, removed about 90,000 pounds. It was like 92,000 pounds of garbage, document everything that I was pulling in and working in the hometown. And it was really good. And basically what I said is if it took me doing it alone, whatever this takes, I'm going to do this. But keeping that original goal, the 435-mile stretch, I used that video and the newspaper clippings, went back. I raised a third of the money. I got a crew of 6 people together and went down to St. Louis. Okay, I'm going to start running the St. Louis Arch and work all the way up to Guttenberg, Iowa. It's going to be great. I'm super pumped up. And how many people have been down to St. Louis? Saw the harbor in spring. Okay, St. Louis is key geographically. right here. St. Louis is key geographically because you have the Mississippi River, the Illinois, and the Missouri all meet there. I pick springtime. What happens in the spring? We showed up down there, and I'm the only person with any river experience, okay? Everybody else is green, and they're in it for this adventure, and they've quit their jobs or quit their bands, whatever they're doing. They're down, they're going to go on this thing with me, and we show up, and we pull up. It's a windy day. It is raging down there. I'd never experienced anything like it. We pull up, we're so excited, then we look out there, giant waves. The thing is swallowing up trees. The barges can barely go up it, and they're all looking at me like, we're not going out there, are we? I'm like, we'll die out there. It's my first 5 minutes of leading this thing, okay? First 5 minutes, I got to come up with a plan B, or at least make it look like I got a plan B. And so what I did is I looked on a map. I figured one river flooding is better than three coming together. So I went above where the Illinois comes back up. Let's pull that map. Yep. I went above where the Illinois comes in, above where the Missouri comes in. We set up camp in a place called Bolter Island. And for the first 6 weeks, we lived in tents. Very tough, a lot of storms. And then my brother let me use his houseboat. That was awesome. That's what we all lived on, a bunch of us. It was great until it sank. That's a lot of fun. You should try that. It's really empowering for like a Monday. Yes. No, just try to be positive about it. The only good thing about it was it sank in deep water. So we just kind of went back to tents and moved upriver. But no, that's my leave no trace joke. It did, though. It started sinking. It was awful. We had to pull that thing out. Then we had nowhere to stay. And so I had a little 20-foot camper donated from a camper place, little junker, and that's what we finished the year out in. And here's what I learned that year. One, this is not going to be easy in any regards to cleaning up the Mississippi River. Not from trying to get rid of the stuff, all the hazardous waste that comes along with it, all these barrels and diesel drums and all this. That's tough, dealing with a crew, trying to fundraise, trying to logistically move upriver. I mean, everything was tough about it. Then I got to thinking, if this was so easy, it would have been done a long time ago. Somebody would have done it. So once I got that mindset, like, yeah, there's going to be issues and problems every day. You can count on it. And as long as I just stay trying to go forward as fast and as hard as I can, that's what will carry me through. So that's exactly what I did. Now, I went off of the Mississippi River. I went up a little river called the Illinois River the next year. And did I get everything out of the Mississippi River? No. I did what I could with what I had, and I worked as hard as I can every day, and that's all you can do. And that's exactly what each and every one of us did. But went up the Illinois River. Everybody quit by the end of the season the next year going into 1999. And just so you know, Jeremy, I'm not gonna go through every year just because, wow. But anyway, no, it's the toughest years. And so anyway, got all the way to the south side of Chicago. That's where the Illinois River is formed. And I'll tell you what, it was the only time in the last 20 years that I was going to quit what I was doing. I was done. And here's the deal. I got all the way up there. Everybody quit except for myself and one other person. We're up there, and we are out there every day for 3 weeks, and we aren't even denting the amount of garbage. There was no shoreline, okay? The shoreline was nothing but 55-gallon barrels mixed with tons of garbage and then tens of thousands of used condoms. Okay? Because what it was an open sewer for Chicago. I waited to say that after you got done eating, just throwing it out there. So, no, but it was. And you talk about discouraged. It's like, here I am living in an open sewer. Nobody's even seeing us out here. Are we really making a difference? And then I got to thinking, like, yeah, we are making a difference. And it is small in the scheme of things, but we are, little by little. That tire, that barrel, that boatload, whatever. And I'm thinking, if I'm going to do this, and if making a difference, and the biggest difference I can is the objective, I need to start thinking about that more. So how can I do that? How can I make a statement about our rivers? How can I double my capacity to do more with the time that I have and the resources to me? Well, I don't know if anybody remembers that. It's a New York harbor barge back in 1987, okay? It made national news. It was full of garbage. A municipality or a company just put all the garbage on there and just kicked it out and didn't want to do anything with it, okay? Walked away, and the thing just floated around, and no one would take ownership okay? It made national news. I was 13 years old. I wasn't into garbage or barges, and I remembered seeing this thing. And I'm thinking, a barge. If I had a barge or barges, I could load everything up on this, make piles the size of this room, okay? And that really would make a statement about our rivers without me even having to say a word. You know, plus I could unload one time a year and spend all of my time now not having to get rid of the stuff, but just unload one time, spend all my time out on the water. So I need a barge, okay? Well, I don't know how many people in this room know much about barges, but they're not like used cars, okay? You can't go down and be like, yeah, I don't know about that one. No, there's not hardly any of them. They're super expensive. I don't know how to move them, park them, anything, but I need one. And they are. This is as big as a room, okay? One of them is. And so anyway, I called a sand company up in my hometown, said, hey, I got the government relations guy. Hey, this is what I'm doing. He saw me in the paper. Chad, I love what you're doing. And I'm like, Bob, let me cut it to you short. Do you have any barges I could have? He's like, what? Did you hear something? I'm like, no, this is what I'm doing. This is where I'm at. I'm up in Chicago, and I want to do this next year on the Mississippi and all this. And he's like, well, because the owner last week decided to get rid of 4 barges, and he's going to cut them up and scrap them because he doesn't want any competition. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. So I'm like, well, can I have one? He's like, I don't know. Give me a call back in 2 weeks. 2 weeks to the day, I give him a call back. Bob, what's up? Chad, good news. You got the barge. Come on down here and get it. Folks, I'm super pumped. I get in my truck. I'm driving down there. I got a barge, you know? And then halfway down there, I'm like, oh, shit, I got a barge. Like, it's massive. What am I going to do with it? No, but then I get down there, and I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, well, all right. Parking, my parents live right on the river. I could just park it there. Anyway, I wrecked the dock. It's a whole other story. But anyway, but got a barge and started doing community cleanups. And since that time, I've done a lot of community cleanups with some of you in this audience, but definitely a lot of your groups around the country. And the most recent one I did was in Ohio around Cincinnati. What? Bam. Yep, boom. There it is. Should have been right up here, front row. Yep. And I'll be back next year, so look forward to working with you guys again. But community cleanups is where it's at. I mean, the amount you can get done in a short period of time and the impactfulness, and I just started doing it, just kind of, didn't have a grand plan when I started out. Just a lot of people like yourselves wanted to help out, and that's kind of how it started. It's actually the Isaac Walton League kept calling me wanting to do a cleanup, and I would just kind of, and they were like, well, where are you going to be on Thursday? And I'm like, well, I'm going to be at the marina. So they just came there, and that's how it all started. And here we are today. What I want to do is play you a quick video and then wrap it up. But this kind of gives you an idea of how we do community cleanups and how fun they are. So here we go.
It's the nickname we've given to a one-of-a-kind sailor who loves the Mississippi River, but who cannot abide a mess. Mark Strassman takes us aboard.
Oh, black water, keep on rolling. Mississippi moon, won't you keep on shining on? Oh, black water, keep on rolling. Mississippi moon, won't you keep on shining on?
Watching Chad Pregracke cruise the Mississippi River, you can't help but think, this guy's got it made. At 32, he spends his days going with the flow.
It's kind of like a living life force. It sounds kind of strange and hokey, but it's really not. To me, like the river, it represents like freedom, and it's a way of life.
His way of life. No time clock, no bosses, no commute.
All in all, nice place to go to work.
It's great. Yeah. If you have to be there at 8, you just wake up at 7:50. Boom. Here you are.
I'm at the office.
I'm here. How are we doing?
It all sounds pretty idyllic. But before you offer to trade places, you should first know exactly what Chad does all day. He picks up garbage. A lot of garbage. Tons of garbage.
But this would be the garbage barge. That would be the recycling barge. We probably have, 3,000 to 4,000 tires collected. And then obviously all the refrigerators, the appliances, water heaters, propane tanks, barrels. This stuff's from like a month's worth of work, just this stuff here. We've already unloaded 2 of these barges completely full though.
Oh.
This year already, so it's just, and that would be heaped, the entire thing heaped full. Anything that you would find like in a landfill or in a house, it winds up here.
It's a huge job. But what's truly amazing is it isn't really Chad's job. He volunteered, or you could say the river called him to it. He grew up in tiny Hampton, Illinois, with the Mississippi literally in his backyard. As a teenager, he worked as a clam digger and a commercial shell diver. And wherever he went, he found garbage.
It wasn't like I woke up one morning and said, the river's dirty. It was a lot of time spent out there in different situations. And the more I started to focus on it, I really was, this is amazing how bad it is.
So one day when he was 17, he decided to do something remarkable. Clean up the Mississippi River. One rusted barrel, one old tire at a time.
At the beginning, was it just you against the dirty river?
No, it was me against that pop can or, that barrel or that tire. I just wanted to do something and be able to see the results,
And how long was it just you out there fishing stuff out of the river?
The first year, but I never intended for it just to be myself out there because I knew how much stuff had accumulated over the last 75 years or so, and I knew I could only make so much of an impact.
So in 1997, he formed a non-profit organization, Living Lands and Waters. For the past 10 years, he and a half-dozen crew members have worked full-time, living off donations, cleaning America's waterways.
What are your priority rivers? Mississippi?
Mississippi is definitely our main focus. The Ohio River is a main focus. The NACD and Potomac, we work out there as well. The Missouri and the Illinois, those are kind of our main ones, and those are some of the bigger ones in the country.
Traveling from town to town, they recruit volunteers along the way.
Found a lot of interesting goodies.
See, I found a tire and a soccer ball and a propane tank thing.
My thought for the day is that if nothing else, I will never use another piece of styrofoam in my life because I think I picked up about 8 pounds of just little tiny pieces of styrofoam.
With their help, over the last decade, Chad estimates he's pulled nearly 4 million pounds of garbage from America's rivers.
Let's do it. Let's load up and go on over there.
A recent Saturday morning found Chad in Burlington, Iowa, where 150 residents showed up to help. Curiously, all of them with the same first name.
Hey, how you doing, dude? Good to see you. How you doing? Thanks, dude. Hey, man. Hey, Chad. How you doing, dude? Dude, I know, dude. Representing, dude.
Jeff Bergman's with Iowa's Department of Conservation. He's worked with Chad on his stops here for the last 9 years.
Would this have happened without him?
I don't know, not to this magnitude. You'll see a little cleanup. You'll see a little here, a little there. No, it wouldn't happen without Chad's goodwill. No, he's a cheerleader. He makes things happen.
It's kind of heavy, isn't it?
It's heavy lifting, but Chad keeps things light, turning every cleanup into a round of garbage barge poker. Best haul wins.
Like if we go out and you get 3 refrigerators in a day, like in a boatload, I should say, it tops any other boatload. But if you get 2 bowling balls, that trumps the 3 refrigerators. That's the inside. If you've never seen the inside of a bowling ball, the ice breaks them, I believe, because we find a lot of broken ones. We have bones here.
Okay, what's the story with this?
I don't know. It looks pretty, I really don't know. We haven't probably checked those out.
The barge the crew lives on is decorated with river serendipity. It's a floating gallery of found art.
Babies. What's all to do with that?
I don't know. Somebody on the crew started putting them up there, but honestly, we found literally thousands of dolls. That's just like within a couple weeks, somebody put that up there.
Are you still pulling the same sorts of stuff out of the Mississippi today that you were 5 or 10 years ago?
Some of the same sort of stuff, yes, but a lot less of it. A lot of towns we don't even go back to that we've been in the past because it's clean.
Between cleanups, Chad and the crew hold education seminars. So far, 1,500 teachers have become Chad's students.
But I think we really are having an impact through you guys.
And he's written a book about his adventures, which he hopes will inspire others as he was inspired.
I once read in a book that the earth is not destroyed as a whole. It's not just, boom, it's destroyed. It's piece by piece. And I think that's the same way that it needs to be fixed. It could be a tire by tire pulling out of the river, or a barrel, or whatever it is, little by little. It's the little things that really do add up. And if a lot of people come together and do those little things, it adds up to big things.
So that gives you a better idea of a cleanup. Thank you. Thank you. And I got to say, I love the video. It does capture, like, we try to make it fun. And we've done, last November, I did my 1,000th community cleanup. I did it in Louisville, Kentucky. And was very proud of all the cleanups, because it's really made a big difference, and we really have made change on the Upper Mississippi River from St. Louis to St. Paul. And it's not like I have one story to tell you about one specific place. I have thousands of stories, because thousands of those volunteers over the years have been like, it really has changed. There's not as much garbage out there anymore. And so I'm happy to be a small part of that change. I have the opportunity to come up here and talk, to you and suck up all the attention, but it truly is a great team of people. I've worked with 150 different people that have lived and worked on the barge with me, all crew members, and my wife is amazing and does a lot of she does the terrible work. She does all the paperwork. I can barely spell my own name. She's amazing, but really is a great team. And honestly, in this room, this is a great team of people. What's really cool about a conference is all of you people are so spread out around the country and working hard. And it's great to be able to come together and meet with all the other people working just as hard and just as passionate as you. So let's give it up one more time for all the people who organized this thing. And I got to wrap it up, but here's the deal. Garbage. Garbage is the least of the river's problems. I didn't have a well thought out plan or anything like that, but I must say, the things you guys are working on is the real issues. It's really the issues. Siltation is one of the biggest issues in the river that I've seen. It really is. And I've seen a lot of the bays that I grew up in, that used to be 4 foot deep, are now 6 inches deep, or grass, and things are changing a lot. So I commend you. I couldn't be, as my wife said, I couldn't be speaking to a better group. And I really appreciate what you do. Now, here's the deal. Budweiser is one of my sponsors. They're awesome. It is fun. You can just... if you need a pallet of beer, no problem. I'm not kidding you. But anyway, that's not my point. The point is I get to sit in on their marketing meetings prior to, when you see the Super Bowl commercials, I get to watch them prior to, and it's a great sponsor, forward thinking, all that. But here's the deal. 3 years ago, I was sitting in their marketing meeting, and they had a slogan that they're going to use for the year, and it said, "America Made Better." And you know what? I think that's what you guys are doing. That's what I feel like I'm doing. I'm doing my part to make the country better. Conserving America's resources, is there much better you could do for the country, future generations, and all that? So I just want to say, I don't live everywhere you live, but I really appreciate what you do for the country. And, I don't really have that good of an ending. So I'll just be honest with you. I don't. But... no, the reason being, I really don't have an ending, because I'm not done. As you know, there's a lot of work still to do out there. And I still wake up after 20 years and still know how much there is to do and want to do it. So I'm going to end on this. Change, I thought a lot about it. This is what we all work towards. But change is slow. As we know, we'd like it to go fast, but it's slow. It's slow like the barge I live on. It's slow to get going. But then it builds momentum, and then it's hard to stop. So I encourage all of you to keep working towards the change. Keep up with your passion. Make it happen. Overcome obstacles. Thanks again. I love what you all do. Thanks for having me here. Thank you.